How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Muv-Luv Monday. We're here again with the day after, and we are continuing now. We're jumping into the next mission that Hibiki and his teammates are going to be going on. Last week's episode was long, but it had a lot to deal with, like a lot of the heavier topics, again, talking about the role of military in this new world. But also there was a lot of talk between Hibiki and Ellen about his past and like his resurging memories, which it turns out are pretty disjointed, but pretty traumatic, and it's hinted at some pretty dark stuff. So I imagine we're going to learn more as we go, and that Yuzuka is trying to protect him from his shattered memory. Also trying to protect him in other ways, as in when she heard him screaming from his like night terrors, she proceeded to try and kick down the door, and when that didn't work, she went and got a fire axe. So yeah, that was hilarious. And then we had the confrontation and kind of interaction here in the hangar, and then Hibiki giving the good old talk through blind hand squeeze to Marimo. But she kept it pretty professional, and now we're here getting our assignments for whatever's going on with the exciting music playing in lieu of the absurd music that was playing just a second ago. So let's see how this all plays out. Hope you guys are excited. Let's just see what happens. Yes, ma'am.
任務の内容は簡単だ。先日、北カリフォルニアから回収に成功したシミュレーターの修復が完了したとの連絡がアメリカ軍よりあった。
Right, so they're going to be able to start training people.
その日本帝国割り当て分を受領してくるという任務になる。
Oh, okay.
搬送自体は輸送部隊を送るが、帝国の代表として立浪中尉に私の名代を務めてもらうことになる。
Wow.
仙道以下は立浪の指揮のもと受領品の管理を行い、詳細は命令書に記載してあるので道中に確認しろ。
Interesting.
了解。話はすでに通してある。簡単な任務だが、帝国代表として節度のある行動を心がけるように。くれぐれもな。
Dang, so like we're being official representatives of like not just like Marimo, but like as effectively Japan, and like we have to inspect and protect the crew. I wonder if we're going to be in our TSFs at all, or if it's just going to be groundwork. Gulp.
何か質問は？
いえ、特には。
I already read the summary last night and gave everyone the rundown. All we need to do is wait for the transportation unit to give us the word.
そうか。嬉しそうだな、ミオの。はい、嬉しいです。
Oh, she's so cute. That reminds me, she did say that kids didn't have enough simulators.
シミュレーターがあれば、今まで以上に訓練を積むことができますから。
Right. そう
だな。これでようやく中隊規模でのシミュレーター演習も可能になる。
Thank goodness, because at the very minimum we should be having squadron size.
今まで中隊規模すら不可能だったんですか。そういうことだ。
Understatement of the century. It ain't like we can spare the propellant to run one of those real life, even if we wanted to. It's a miracle we've been able to withstand the beta's attack this long.
しかし少佐、あのような代物よく回収できましたね。確か北カリフォルニアまでは1000キロぐらいあったと思いますが。
That's an insane distance. How would you transport this stuff with the usual air or sea routes unavailable? Let's not even get started on the large-scale decompression effect that's still in place.
ああ、それについて説明するが、先日北カリフォルニアまでの鉄道修復が完了し、物資輸送ルートが確立された。
That's very handy.
鉄道が?
Can't believe we still have the capabilities to repair something like that. Wouldn't be a big deal normally, but this is a different world these days. As a result of the large-scale decompression effect, the further away you go from Eurasia, the thinner the atmosphere becomes. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so the further from Eurasia, the thinner the atmosphere becomes. So, yeah, it sounds like whatever happened has consolidated a lot of the atmosphere and water on that side of the planet. So, like, it's an interesting idea, but I'm guessing a big part of that is because, like, you leveled so much, like, land mass, probably actually exposed the mantle that then got, like sealed over by, like, the water and such. But, so that led to a rapid, like, retreating of the ocean into that gap. And you also have, like, a new, like, low point. Like, so sea level has now dropped, which means that the atmospheric pressure also would have had to drop. And in fact, yeah, okay, that actually makes sense then. So you have a large area where the pressure used to be much higher that now has been dropped, and sea level also, like globally, has been dropped. So across the entire planet, you're essentially having the same amount of atmosphere covering essentially a larger surface area, because there's no longer like the bumps and ridges of the surface. Now, that might not be on the large scale seeming like a big difference, but the atmosphere is also really quite thin if you think about it. It's only like a few, like, I can't remember how many miles, but it's like, I think it's like 5 miles and you're effectively out of the atmosphere. And so by taking away, like, I mean, think about like Everest and the mountains and like the Swiss Alps and all these other like large land masses that protruded from the surface. They're now all gone. That does. Interesting. I've never considered what would happen if you actually deleted surface material before with the atmosphere. Maybe the water, but I never thought of the atmosphere. And that's why I've been so confused. And I don't even know if I'm right here, but there's a logic to that. And I'm guessing whoever wrote this, they did their homework. But I'm going to have to actually dive into that now. Like, I'm getting curious enough. I might do some of my own, like, research. I don't know how you research that, but I'm going to try. That's really fascinating. Anyway. In fact, the atmosphere is what used to be the state of California, and its surroundings can no longer support life by itself.
資源回収のために必要だったからな。カリフォルニアは一大生産拠点だった。相当の物資が回収できるのではないかと期待されている。
One of the benefits is that they weren't slammed so hard with like a tidal wave or anything. With the air decompression, it just left a whole bunch of suffocated people. It's terrifying, horrifying, but most of the infrastructure should be relatively intact. In fact, lack of atmosphere might even mean that a lot of electronics and like records are better preserved. But you still got to deal with the high salt. You also have to, like, just the natural time and weather effects, and the fact there's no one upkeeping. A lot of modern human like structures and facilities and constructions are designed to have basic maintenance done, and without that maintenance, most of them do not do so well over time.
なるほど。
We can't use aircraft to carry resources back home because the atmosphere is too thin, but an overland route, a railway, doesn't run into the same problem. Besides, California's got to have all sorts of facilities right for the picking, not just military bases. Once we get our hands on all those factories and stuff, our productivity is bound to go up big time. You gotta remember, we don't have people. I mean, how many people aren't working already? You need manpower to do that stuff. It's not like you have a lot of people sitting on their hands. But, I mean, he's right, but without manpower, what good is all that stuff? Like, at the moment. This is great news.
今回のシミュレーターだがな、実はこれは帝国に対するアメリカ軍からの報酬の一部だ。
Ah, interesting.
報酬ですか。
鉄道の運用は帝国の得意とするところだ。線路網から車両改造に至るまで、帝国の技術者や民間人が数多く参加し貢献している。
Gotcha. I bet you they had to develop a lot of airtight compartments for the people who are traveling.
線路の修復、燃料節約のための送電線敷設、燃料電池車の極低気圧向け改造など、帝国技術者の果たした役割は大きい。
Dang. Man, how low pressure are we talking? I ain't surprised. Trains always ran at the same time in the Empire. Well, actually, if it's... So life can't exist there. And it's enough that people kind of, like, suffocated rather rapidly. If you think about the peak of Everest, the highest point on Earth that we can reach while touching the ground, it's high up enough that people can die from lack of oxygen, but it takes time. And they're under extreme like conditions of the hiking and like the physical exertion. So whatever the situation is in former California, like it's got to be like lower pressure than the peak of Everest. That's a lot. That's really bad, man. And then the further away from what was Eurasia you go, the worse that gets. That's got to be insane. In fact, that might even be part of where all the water went. If the water pressure's that low, oh my gosh, if the water pressure's that low, that a lot of the ocean might not have just left. it might have boiled away. I don't know if it would have been able to boil away into vacuum, like escaping the Earth's like gravitational pull or anything. But when pressure drops, boiling, like the boiling point rises. Like it doesn't need to get hot to make water boil anymore. So that actually is probably what happened to a lot of that water, especially in the more extreme points. That explains why it's all salt. Okay, I'm starting to get it. It's starting to make a lot more sense now. Because I was at first confused as to why salt was left behind as the water rushed away. That was part of it, but the other part of it is that when the pressure dropped significantly like it did, the water evaporated. And that's what left the layer of salt on everything. Because evaporation leaves the salt behind. What's insane to think about that, though, is that means that there's a consistent, like, evaporation point, like around the ring of the planet where the pressure gets down low enough and the temperature is high enough where you'd be able to watch the seas boil. But not because, like, we always associate boiling water with hot because it's like hot to a touch, but boiling has nothing to do with temperature. It just has to do with the combination of temperature, pressure, and material. And so salt water boiling and like room temperature, you'd be able to see that happening on like that barrier where those 2 points meet. That would be bizarre. Holy crap, that's insane. Anyway, sorry, I'm geeking out here. Any surprise? Trains always ran on time in the Empire. I mean, we barely have humanity left at this point.
ここより南といえば内陸にはネバダ州がありましたよね。あそこにも軍関連施設は多いと思いますが、それらの回収は見込まれているのですか?
Further inland might pose more problems, but possibly. Ellen. いや、内陸部は減圧の影響がさらに大きい。さらに言えば、ネバダはもともと高原だったからな。Dang. それこそ宇宙服でも着想しなければ無理だな。We've turned like we deleted most of like the mass of the planet, like the majority of land mass on the planet, and now the majority of what's left is essentially Mars.
そうでしたか。
やはりカリフォルニアでも酸素マスクは必携ですか？
その通りだ。適応訓練を受けた人間でもない限り、酸素マスクをつけていても長時間の活動は難しい。
Yeah, so it's sounding a lot like conditions on top of Everest. Probably worse, but still, like, unless you've undergone adaptive training, yeah. Not in this world, no.
その通りだ。だが、困難ではあるが、その価値はある。ともあれ、よろしく頼む。
はっ。
くれぐれも揉め事を起こすな。何を言われても耐えろ。
Okay, no fights.
はあ。
釈然としないようだな。だが行けばわかる。これも一つの経験だ。
Oh boy.
大丈夫です。私たちがついてますから。そうか。すまんな。慣れっこです。立浪、命令書とアメリカ軍基地侵入許可証だ。以降の詳細に関しては輸送隊の関少尉と打ち合わせろ。では任せた。
了解。
Understood. Ah.
大きいですね。
帝国軍第一戦術機構大隊立浪注意だ。物資受領のために参上した。これが許可証だ。
了解。とっとと言ってください。こっちは忙しいんですよ。
あ？どこ行きゃいいんだよ。
指示ぐらい受けてから来てくださいよ。インペリアルじゃ命令書ってもんがないんすか。許可証にも書いてありますでしょ。N27 倉庫。さっさと車動かしてくださいね。邪魔なんで。
悪かったな。
Not the most friendly bunch.
いい天気ですね。早めに任務が終わったらどっかで少し休憩していきませんか？
早めに終わったらな。
わーい、楽しみです。
Oh boy, this atmosphere is getting real thick, and unfortunately, not in the good way that this planet needs. I'm not even thinking of it as Earth anymore. It feels like another
第
place.
一戦術機構大隊 立浪注意だ。物資受領のために参上した。
引き渡し証の提示を。
これだ。確認願う。
オーケー。トレーラーをあちらへ。積み込みを開始します。引き渡し書のここにサインを。積み込みが完了したら内容確認の上、こちらにもサインを。
Gotcha.
了解。ありがとさん。
I'm gonna reply, Dick.
くれぐれも揉め事を起こすな。何を言われても耐えろ。
She knew this was, she knew this was coming, huh?
システムはリセット済みなので、帝国側で再設定を。ガイダンスチップは別途お渡しします。
了解した。よし、全員作業に入ってくれ。関少尉、仕切りは頼む。
了解。
Loading them up is gonna take a while. Man, what's with the attitude? It's been bothering the heck out of me. The Navy guards here on the East Coast were so much The Navy guys on the East Coast were so much friendlier. Why are they acting so cold? We're fighting a war on the same friggin' side.
なんだあの貧乏くせえトレーラーは。なんであんな場所に止まってんだ邪魔くせえ。
Oh boy. Now what?
Hey マイク、俺たちの正式装備になんてこと言いやがる。
Yeah, shouting on purpose like that, like we can't see what you're trying to do.
おっと失礼注意。もともと俺たちのでした。しかしわざわざ貸してやってもジャップの手にかかるとこのありさまかよ。
Oh, lovely. Lovely. It's not just like, like the general, being free racism. That's what it's racism at this point. It's lovely. That settles it. The East Coast guys were nothing like these buttholes. Calm down, Ibiki. Remember your orders. Shizuku.
おいマイク、あれを見ろ。なんだウィングマーク。何の冗談だ。インペリアルじゃガキまで戦場に駆り出してるのかよ。
冗談だろ。いくつだあいつ。おいお前、まさかプライマリースクールの生徒じゃないよな。
違います。
まったく物乞いだけに飽き足らずガキまで戦場送りかよ。最低の国だな。
さ、こんな奴らに貴重なシミュレーターをくれてやるのかよ。
You didn't ask for our help, you useless buttheads. We're the ones doing the heavy lifting in the front lines while you lot sit and relax.
おい、そこの子供注意さんよ。なんとか言ったらどうだ。てめえらにはもったいねえものをくれてやるんだぞ。
ジャップはお船に乗って大砲だけ撃ってりゃいいんだよ。そうすりゃシミュレーターなんかいらねえだろ。
These mother truckers. Yep. Yeah, what they're doing is transparent. I gotta calm down. Can't let this escalate. But you know what? It'd be pretty bad manners to keep my mouth shut. No! Just keep your mouth shut.
悪いね。こっちは常に先陣を務めなくてはいけないんだな。
Gosh.
シミュレーターは活用させてもらう。
Do not engage you. No, Vicky. Stop. Man, look how low-key this. It ain't like these roid heads are gonna get it. A masterpiece, I tell you.
てめえ、俺たちが卑怯者だって言いてえのかよ。なめてんじゃねえぞ。
That actually got it. They actually got it. Well, wonders never cease. Hibiki, no! Stop it! Well, whatever. Get all pissy if you want. I don't give a crap. If you don't get you don't get to complain until you come fight with us at the front lines first. Maybe Suzahara would still be alive then.
あ？なんだその態度は。え？注意さんよ。客だって言うから優しくしてやればつけ上がりやがって。てめえらなんざ必要ねえんだよ。わかってんのか？
Oh, really? She's saying they don't need us. No, don't do it. Don't do it. This guy's saying my comrades, the people who have fought to cover your butts, died for nothing. To my face. F this crap. I've heard enough. No! Ibiki, no!
おい。
あら、どうかしら。
Ellen, thank you.
必要ないとは言うけれど、帝国が常に先陣を務めてるのは真実でしょ。
なん なんだと？
割り込んでくるんじゃねえよ。大体なんで白人が猿の群れに混じってんだよ。ヨーロッパの物乞いならおとなしくうちに入っとけ。
Oh, don't say she's Canadian. That could also go really bad.
いやいや、案がいじめられて逃げ出したんじゃねえのか。可愛がられすぎの間違いだろ。毎晩特会引っかいしてりゃさすがにあそこも擦り切れるってか。随分と稼いだんじゃねえのか、このビッチめ。
I know it's... I am really offended right now. Like I know it's a story, and I know they're being offensive, but holy crap! Jeez, I want to punch this dude a lot. No.
そうね。だったらまだ良かったんだけど。
Oh!
残念ながらアメリカ産のはどれもこれもお粗末で。
Oh! Ellen, dude.
面白えじゃねえか。白人のくせに猿にケツ振ってんのか、このインバイが。
Son of a B.
あら、焼いてるの？だったらご自慢の一物をここでご披露くださる？大きさ次第じゃ考えてあげてもいいわよ。勇者で童貞を捨てましたって顔した少尉さん。
Okay, Ellen, like, you also need to disengage, but oh my gosh, these birds!
貴様ぶっ殺すぞ。おい待て待て。正規の飲みすぎで頭がおかしくなったやつの話を真に受けるな。
Oh my gosh, they don't know when to quit.
私の頭がおかしい。そうね。でも自分の母親にオナニーのやり方を教わった注意さんよりはマシじゃないかしら。
Oh no! Gosh, that's enough!
エレンエイス少尉、口を慎め。所属もわからない馬の骨と勝手に更新する許可は出していないぞ。
なんだと？
貴様も誇り高き日本帝国軍の一員なのだ。自覚を持て。
おい、子供注意さんよ。所属不明の馬の骨とは随分と好き勝手なこと言ってくれるじゃねえか。
別に舐めちゃいないさ。図星刺されて勝手に熱くなってる奴らなんざいちいち相手にしてられるか。引っ込んでろ。
注意。
Sorry, Yuzuka. It's too late to back off. No, it's not!
貴様。
情けねえ。
Yeah.
ああ、情けねえ。てめえらそれでも合衆国の英士かよ。大体ボキャブラリーなさすぎなんだよ、ボケが。
Oh gosh, no! This is not an easy situation. It's not. It sucks. It gets your blood boiling. But gosh darn it, you gotta stop.
あ？うるせえよ。
バカ。仮にも相手は注意だぞ。
気にすんな。階級で黙らせたとか後からごちゃごちゃ言い訳されたらたまんねえ。言いてえことがあれば聞いてやる。
何？
てめえら誇りをどこに捨ててきた。女捕まえて中学生レベルのつまんねえ下ネタとか笑えねえんだよ。
He's got a point.
そんなに溜まってんなら戦術機の陰で抜いてから出直してこい、アホが。
なんだと？口の減らねえガキがぶん殴ってやろうか。
She's so racist.
その気があるんなら予告なんかすんなボケ。お前本当に殴り合いなんかしたことあんのか。
Look at that. Dude's face is red with rage. And I mean that literally. Really noticeable on white people.
やっぱ西には程度の低い連中しかいねえのか。うすうす感じちゃいたが、ほんと。
てめえ。
おい、ちょっと待て。お前、東にいたことがあるのか？
Yeah.
ああ、東海岸の連中は立派だったよ。少なくともお前らみたいなクソはいなかったさ。あの苦境にあって故郷を取り返そうと全力で戦っていた。
Yeah.
しんみり語ってごまかすんじゃねえ。
黙ってろ。続けてくれ。
俺はバビロン作戦後にアメリカ軍に拾われて一緒に戦った。俺たち帝国の英士だけじゃない。 難民兵士たちも行動を共にしていた。東のアメリカ軍は尊敬に値する軍だった。統制は行き届き、俺らに対する礼儀もわきまえてたよ。
お前、名前は？
帝国軍第一戦術機構大隊第17小隊立浪響注意だ。つい先日までお宅の教習用陸艦ボクサーに世話になってた。
何？ボクサーに？
東からこっちに歩いてきたやつがいたよな。確かボクサーに乗艦してたって話だった気がする。
Yep, yep.
ボクサーに乗っていた立浪って、まさかあの立浪か？
おい、あいつ帝国の欧州派遣軍の一員なんじゃねえのか？
Yeah, you got it.
こっちにたどり着いて現隊復帰もできねえままだが、奴らのことは片時も忘れたことはねえよ。戦友だと思っている。
This took a good turn. Whew. Well, dang though.
立浪注意。
そこの彼女も一緒だった。だが、どんなに極まった状況でも、女を理由に侮蔑されたことはない。もちろん俺たちだけじゃない。誰が相手でも、東のアメリカ軍はそんな真似はしなかった。随分と東と西で違うんで驚いているところだ。恥ずかしくなんねえのか。世界最強の国家が亡国の連中に因縁つけて楽しむなんてよ。
因縁をつけたわけじゃない。納得がいかないだけだ。
何がだ、注意。
そこにいる子供だ。なぜ子供を戦場に立たせる？戦場に出るのは軍人の仕事だ。
Yeah, I see now.
冗談だろ。いくつだあいつ。おいお前、まさかプライマリースクールの生徒じゃないよな？
違います。
まったく物乞いだけに飽き足らずガキまで戦場送りかよ。最低の国だな。
くそ、こんな奴らに貴重なシミュレーターをくれてやるのかよ。
I see. That's why they gave us the crap in the first place.
注意、誤解があるようなので言っておくが、彼女はとっくの昔にプライマリースクールは卒業している。な。
当然です。
なんだと？バカな。
嘘だろ。プライマリースクールの妹より小さく見える。
本当にフットペダルまで足が届くのか？
いや、しかしダメだ、わからん。
これは嘘じゃない。本当だ。
確かに東洋人は若く見えるという話を聞いたことはあるが。
She's still young, don't get me wrong, but she's not elementary year. So these guys weren't that bad after all.
注意が我が国の国情を憂いてくれたことには感謝する。確かに我が国はアメリカに比べ国力も低く、国情も厳しい状態にある。だがそれでも我が国は子供を戦場に立たせることはない。絶対にそんな選択をすることはない。
そうであってくれることを願う。大きな誤解をしていたようだ。謝罪したい。すまなかった。
いや、一時的に行き違いがあっただけだと考えている。謝罪には及ばない。
That's good.
アメリカ陸軍第一軍団第66戦術機構大隊セドリック・ヒル注意だ。
改めて帝国軍第一戦術機構大隊第17小隊立浪響注意だ。
立浪？貴様、大陸横断を敢行した男で間違いはないか？
別に大した話でもねえよ。最後はアメリカ軍に拾ってもらったようなもんだしな。
Right.
やっぱりそうだったか。
あいつがあの立浪なのか？
しかし本当に本物なのか？立浪の名前を語ってるだけじゃないのか？
Oh gosh, how many times does he have to say it?
インペリアルの欧州派遣部隊か？
いや、敬意を払わせてもらう。誰でも簡単にできる所業ではない。それと 東海岸でのインペリアルの活躍は耳にしている。
Yeah.
彼女は
部下のミオの雫少尉だ。
ミオの雫少尉です。
先ほどはすまなかった。許してほしい。
いえ、気にしていません。
ちなみに彼女は東洋人としても年齢より幼く、もとい若く見えるということを付け加えておくよ。
この後に及んで嘘ではないと思うが。
Yeah, I know what you mean.
嘘じゃないです。
そうか。
Okay, he's not buying it. I can't say I'm all that surprised.
同盟軍の絵師なら仕方ねえな。だが言っておく。東海岸の連中は別かもしれんが、シアトルの日本は同盟軍じゃねえ。
Oh, we know that.
自重しろ、少尉。了解。先に行きますよ、注意。行こうぜ。失礼する。
Notice how, though, they showed no respect to Yuzuka, even though she walked across the, like, too. They're all talking about Hibiki. Oh, he's the guy who walked across the... She was right there, too. Why aren't they all going crazy about her? And then also, did you notice they didn't apologize to Ellen for all the terrible things they said to her? Like, and they said horrific things to her. Maybe they felt like they couldn't because she said kind of horrific things back. But at the same time, why wouldn't they apologize to her for that same kind of thing? I don't get it. It's aggravating because it's like, you can call that a resolution, but there's like so much that was just not even acknowledged. There are absolute problems there. That's kind of a big problem in general with people, right? Like, you can sometimes crowbar people into like admitting mistakes or to like saying sorry for certain things, but then like the stuff they omit almost says more than the stuff they don't omit, right? And then like even if you did like force them to give an apology, it wouldn't really mean anything, you know, because if they weren't willing to offer it, it's not really coming from the heart. It's really annoying. Whew.
注意。
I know. Oh crap, here comes the pain.
あれほど少佐に注意をされていたのに、ご自分から挑発するとはどういうことですか?
She's right. Again, me and Yuzuka, we're on the same page on most of these things. I don't think I'd take an axe to a door, but other than that.
すまん。つい勢いで。
ついではありません。神宮寺少佐の命題として、招待状としての自覚がなさすぎます。怪我でもしたらどうするつもりなんですか?
Well, we know what he would have done. He would have fought, and he would have won, and then he would have gotten in big trouble.
いや、そこまで悪化はしないだろうと。一応同盟。
You were practically begging them to fight you.
認識が甘すぎます。そんな風に考えているから。ごめん、ゆずか。私のせい。エレン、一応言い訳しときますけど、あのまま流していただければ、一応あしらえる予定だったんですが。
It was a brilliant verbal debating. Ellen, you get props to you for like some quality grade A insults.
あんな風に言われて黙っていられるか。上官としては看過できなかった。
申し訳ありません。出過ぎた真似をしました。
Aww.
それからありがとうございます。ごめんなさい。私が小さくて。ごめんなさい。私のせいです。
That's not your fault.
何を言っているの？雫のせいなわけないじゃない。
I don't know. Yuzuka's also innocent.
その通りだ。エレンや雫のせいじゃない。ユズカの言う通りだ。俺のせいだよ。エレンだって俺が切れそうになってたのに気づいたんだろ。だから割って入ったんじゃないのか。
別にそんなわけでは。
No.
申し訳ありません。副官である私の責任です。
Yuzuka?
副官でありながら行き届かない点が多々ありました。
いや、お前のせいでもないだろ
う。いえ、認識が甘すぎました。警戒するように進言しながらも、私自身の気持ちの緩みが。
Interesting. I don't know. I don't think I agree with her either. Oh boy, my whole team's got no chill, it seems.
もういいよ。責任の取り合いしたって意味がない。
I'm your superior officer. The buck stops with me. Truthfully, I can't say the American soldiers I met on the East Coast were all saints. There were a couple of rotten apples in the bunch, but at the very least, it did feel like we shared a bond.
なぜ大解放を生き残れた国の兵士同士なのにそんな態度が取れるのでしょうか
I don't know. Tough times often make us quick at bickering and fighting words.
こっちのアメリカ軍兵士はほとんどあんなもんですよ気にしても仕方がないんじゃないでしょうか
I'd also, well, I don't know, because obviously we knew the Babylon thing was happening, but sadly, okay, this might sound controversial, but where do you put the soldiers that are the most effective, that have the best team dynamic, that have the best, most open minds, and the best talent? You turn them into the front lines. Where do you put the soldiers that might have issues, but like whom we can't afford to just like kick out or sideline? You keep them in the back and you help them work with logistics. So when this whole thing went down, where were people hit the hardest? On the front lines, in the oceans and in patrols and everything. So it's kind of like Marimo said, we lost a lot of our trained and capable people during Babylon. America too. The people who are here, were stationed here, are people who were like still in training or who rotated out or just weren't as qualified, even if they weren't told that. So we're not seeing the best of the best here. But now they're the best we got. They also might not be appropriately, I don't know, they don't have the perspective that frontline work might have given. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that quite justifies it, but at the same time, like, it could explain a lot of that kind of naivete and, like, kind of passion that has nowhere to really express itself could come from. People who haven't, like, coming from soldiers who might not have cut their teeth in the proper line of duty, who now are suddenly the most important people in the military, like, and seeing the crisis and losing friends and family and all of that put together and all that stress is gonna make them be childish. It's a human nature thing, I think.
実際ベイドル発作に媚びへつらう帝国軍兵士もいますから余計図に乗ってるんじゃないでしょうか
That also is probably a part of it.
そんな話もあるのか。
はい闇市で使おうと思ったら軍票よりドルの方が確かですから
Right. Watching what's going on around here with a cool head. Miono's surprisingly mature.
アメリカ軍のいえアメリカの力がそれだけ強いということの表れ
I mean, okay, maybe, but they didn't lose all their land mass. They lost a lot of it. And they're losing in a war to Canada. Let's just say that says a lot about the current state of affairs in America. But, you know, at this point, I'm kind of more on the side of Canada. Like, I don't know, I'm sure they're being a bunch of buttholes too, considering what they were willing to do, but like, can you blame them? I don't know. Pretty much.
この状況は私たち自身が招いたことでもあります一方的に向こうを責めるのはおかしいです
Let's just agree that we all sucked today, and we'll do better next time.
でもここのアメリカ軍が帝国軍なしでやっていけないのは事実なのよ海軍は帝国軍頼りだし陸だって北にはフランス側のカナダがあるわけだし
Right. Oh boy. That's exactly why we want to make sure we know where we stand with the pecking order.
うまくあしらいましたね
Oh, fetch! Did he just speak to us in Japanese?
今ご覧になった通り日本人への風当たりは強いですよ
Oh boy, he's been listening too. Oh no. What's with this guy? What does he want to say?
そうみたいだな。
役に立つ軍人はともかく咀嚼地の民間人はただ守られているにもかかわらず言うにこと書いてやれ飯をよこせ物資をよこせ
Oh, fetch! That's pretty direct.
おまけにシアトル本市街地まで物乞いに来る始末ですからね嫌われて当然ですよ
But they do like, oh gosh, I hate this.
挙句の果てにデモまで起こしてよ軍人は恵まれすぎだとさ俺たちがいなきゃそもそも奴らは生きちゃいねえってのに
でも
No.
注
We learned our lesson.
日本人の一人として弁護しておく。それが正しい姿とは思わない。だが仕方ないだろう。皆困窮してる。誰もが強くあれるわけじゃない。
そうですね。誰もが強くあれるわけじゃない。虐げられれば傷つくのが人間です。あんたらの帝国とやらは、俺たちの犠牲の上に成り立ってることを忘れるなよ。
I see now. This guy's Japanese American. That's why his Japanese is so good.
俺たち日系アメリカ人は、今やこの日本人面のおかげで苦労させられてる。
Naturally.
ことあるごとに、自分がアメリカ市民だということを、言動や行動で主張しなければならない。でなきゃ、
それは。
俺の家はタコマにあった。お前たちに叩き出されて、今や白人様の間でひもじく暮らしてるよ。
Oh boy. Man, oh gosh, no wonder. Oh, fetch.
だが反面大きな問題も発生している。日本人居留区を設定するためにアメリカは市民の財産である住宅を強制徴発したんだ。
Yeah, I think this right here, this is the hardest thing to sell to American citizens, honestly.
強制徴発？俺たち日本人を住まわせる住宅を確保するのに、そこから住人を追い出したんですか？
そうだ。そのため住居を奪われたアメリカ市民を中心に反日感情が蔓延している。もっともフランス・カナダ連合が正面に控えているため、その声は幸いにも大きくはない。
ですが、それは。
君の話は肝に銘じておく。すまなかった。個人的に謝罪しても意味はないと思うが、言えるのはそれだけだ。
It's a completely meaningless gesture.
搬出準備ができたようだぜ。せいぜいこのシミュレーターで訓練積んで防衛に貢献してくれ。
ああ。
Oh boy. Oh, Ray! Everything's so lovely. Yeah.
ことあるごとに自分がアメリカ市民だということを言動や行動で主張しなければならない。
You know,
でなきゃ物乞いの仲間扱いさ。
I wonder how Russians are doing right now. It's pretty clear a lot of people in Russia aren't big fans of what's going on, but imagine being Russian American or Russian, I don't know. I don't know what the terms would be for somebody who's like of Russian descent but has now been like naturalized in places like Great Britain, France, Germany, Finland, Norway, anywhere really. Like, by cultural association, are they struggling right now? Is it hard to just have an anti-war stance knowing that your family might be caught up in things? Like, how, like, even if that's not something that like would tear at you, do people assume it does? I mean, when we went towards Japan, we effectively made a concentration camps for Japanese Americans. There was really not a lot of like, there was no merit and very little justification for it, especially because many of them had been naturalized, as in like their families had been there for years. We were terrified of like, you know, agents. And, you know, maybe there were. I don't know. Like, I've never seen any evidence that any agents were actually found. But I understand, like, the fear there. It's the same problem Ellen's facing because she was former Canadian, and why, like, there's a lot of scrutiny about her because what if she decides to double cross? What if her ties to her, you know, cultural heritage are stronger than her current ties right now, despite all that she went through to desert? You know, like, it's something that you wouldn't be able to, there's no way you couldn't think about it. I mean, Hibiki has it on his mind even still. He's gotten to the point now where I think he trusts her, but at the same time, he's admitted several times that he can't just shake the fact that she's Canadian because he literally was being killed by, he and his people were being killed by Canadian soldiers not too long ago. It's hard to just shake that off. I totally get that. So it makes me wonder, like, what about those who are naturalized Russians who are living in my community? Like, how are they feeling about all of this? They are being, like, Russia's being villainized, and honestly, they've done a great job to earn that, and I think it's very right to say that they provoked things, and their leader is doing terrible things, and including to civilians, for, you know, inane, stupid reasons, political reasons that are honestly. There are a lot of things that I understand that countries do that are terrible. Like, I get why, even if I don't agree with it. This stuff really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I understand the gains and the benefits that would be involved in all of this, but to push it to this extent, to put so much on the line, and then to continually try and blame the Ukrainian people and NATO and America, like, for the escalation, essentially saying, like, I'm only, I like, it's like an abusive, like, you know, spouse or significant others, like, hitting somebody and saying, you made me do this. Like, that's essentially what is happening and what we're being told, and all these threats that are going on, and like and like I said, escalating. Like, I know there's other perspectives that I'm not privy to because of my position, and I wish I had information to be able to make proper judgments in this, but from what I can see, it just all seems insane. And then you also have this whole idea of, like, what about if that is your family, your heritage? Like, how would you feel about that? And most importantly, how do we feel and treat those people? I mean, we saw a massive uptick in anti-Asian hate and discrimination during the years of COVID. Like, no reason at all for it. A disease is a disease. Just because it originated in China has no bearing on why you should why you should persecute people based on their ethnic origin. That makes no sense, and yet it happens. So is that something that's happening with people, like naturalized Russian citizens? Like, I don't hear anything about that, but granted, the news has got a lot of spicier stuff to talk about, but I bet you it is happening, and that's really sad and depressing because there's no merit, there's no reason for it. But it's human nature. We're all stupid. Anyway.
それは
俺の家はタコマにあった。お前たちに叩き出されて、今や白人様の間でひもじく暮らしてるよ。
So the Japanese Americans pretty much hate our guts. Well, anyone who's been dragged out of their place where they lived for most of their lives would feel the same. It doesn't matter if we can make up for it by taking their homes somehow, in money, protection, whatever. Emotionally speaking, you can't compensate for that.
なあ、ユズカ。
はい。
それ以外にどんなやりようがあったって言うんだろうな。
Yeah, of course. There's a million ways you could have handled all of that.
なんていきなり言われても意味わかんねえか。
Could you handle it much better? Probably not.
いえ、わかります。そうですね。
お、どうしたミオノ。いつの間に。
さっきからいましたよ。私もね。
Oops.
なんだ。結局全員集合かよ。せっかく解散かけたんだ。他に行くとこ。
あら、私の居場所は響のいるところよ。なんて。いまいちキレが悪かったわね。
そうなのか？
ええ。つい本音が出てしまいましたから。
Oh gosh.
エレン。
Because like he's mine.
何よ。少しは和んだからいいでしょ。
もう少し健全な和ませ方で頼むわ。それよりミオノ、何か報告か？
いえ、報告ではないのですが、今日の件についてちょっと。
Yeah.
あ？
絡まれちゃったのはあれでしたけど、あれが普通ですから、あんまり気にしないでください。
God, you remind me a lot of Tama. You really do.
しずくちゃん、ありがとう。ごめんなさい。気を使ってもらって。いえ。
She's trying to comfort us, huh? I'm happy to see she's a team player, but this kind of stuff really what passes for normal around here?
くれぐれも揉め事を起こすな。何を言われても耐えろ。 釈然としないようだな。だが行けばわかる。これも一つの経験だ。
Come on, you gotta be better next time.
大丈夫です。私たちがついてますから。そうか。すまんな。
Aw, yeah.
慣れっこです。
Here I was bracing myself to deal with discrimination, but the extent of it took me by surprise. Guess I'm in for one heck of a time.
そうだぞ。あんまり気を使う必要はないぞ。
I should be careful to avoid showing any signs of weakness, least of all in front of my team.
それにしては二人ともダメージを受けた顔をしてるけど。
Yeah.
でも東はこことは全然違ったみたいね。落差があればその分衝撃も大きいと思う。
Alright.
ここのやり方に慣れるのがいいことだとは思わないけど、少しずつでもそうしていくしかないわ。それまでの間は
Hooray, because that makes it okay.
辛くなったら私たちがいるから。
Oh dang. Now Ellen of all people's trying to make us feel better, and she's actually serious about it.
あれ？エレンちゃん顔が赤いよ。
Aww.
ちょっと息を止める練習をして。じゃなくて光の加減よ。
Yeah, no, you can't change gears like that with a terrible excuse. Ellen, thanks, dude. Man, I had my apprehension about her at first, but now I feel terrible about keeping her under a close watch. It's almost 99% positive she's got no ulterior motive. Sure, this could all be ploy, fostering a sense of camaraderie on purpose to make us all lower our guard around her, but I don't know.
響もあんまりジロジロ見ないで。そんなに変なこと言った？
いや、その。
ありがとう、エレン。
確かにな。さっきのに比べりゃ東は随分マシだったんだよ。
Right.
戦況は苦しかったし、アゾレス諸島やアフリカの淵にしか根拠地がない辛さはあったよ。陸なんてめったに踏めなかった。でもだからこそ残された連中は団結してたよ。
I see. Things aren't looking great, but at least we don't have our backs against the wall just yet, given a false sense of security. That's why people can still afford to start crap like those American soldiers back at Fort Lewis.
アメリカ軍にしても上層部こそ俺ら同盟軍や拾った難民をどう使い潰そうかと考えてるような連中ばっかだったけど。
He's right there too.
少なくとも兵士や船乗りたちは互いに戦友だった。
Yeah.
そうでしたね。特に差別を意識したことはなかったわ。もちろん何から何までアメリカ人と同じだったとは言わないけど。
Exactly.
異国の戦友ね。でもそれ聞く人によっては皮肉ね。
Only now.
皮肉？だって異なる国の兵士同士が対等な戦友でいられる場所って可能性としてはもう。
Yeah. Oh, that's horrifying. I wonder how many countries are left. We have Canada, France, although, like, France has no actual land left, right? Like, I'm guessing even, like, Europe was gone. What's left? Is there anything left of Africa? I'm guessing not. God, I wish I could see a whole globe. I want a map with a breakdown of everything that's going on the planet right now. Gosh darn it.
日本とアメリカ、フランス、カナダくらいしかないってことか。
What a cage match.
もう対等な国同士のつながりなんて世界中探しても他にはないんですね。対等なんて元からあったかどうか疑問だけど、でも今は一部の持てる国が他国の人間を刺激しているのが現実ね。
Yeah.
母国を失った人間がそれでもそういう軍に依存しなければ生きていけないのが現実。
Yeah.
エレンちゃん。でも、エレンちゃんのことはそんな風に思ってないよ。ええ、ありがとう、しずく。大丈夫。私もそうされてるとは思ってない。
Good.
私のは政治亡命みたいなもので、むしろこの世界じゃ贅沢な話よ。
I mean, that's also true.
それでも、人がどういう経緯でそこにいるかを見ようとする奴らは少ない。 ただ外人だってだけで色目で見るやつもいるだろう。
Racism, cultural, like, exclusivity, it's all stupid. I mean, I get it, but it sucks. It's no different from the US soldiers we met earlier. His family had been in the States for decades. He's an American, no matter how you cut it, but his fellow citizens can't help but eye him with suspicion.
昨日の E7 地区での警備、本当に何もなかったか？何か言われたりしなかったか？
ええ、大丈夫。何もなく平和なものだったわ。
Interesting.
本当よ。
ならいいが、正直俺の認識が甘かった。だけど俺たちはこれからもああいう任務を続けていかなくちゃならない。軍人がバカ言いやがったってんならいくらでも黙らせられるが、民間人相手じゃそうはいかない。
Right.
だから何かあったら遠慮なく言ってくれ。告げ口だとか弱音だとかそんな風に思わなくていい。
響き。
それがひいては俺たち自身の誇りを取り戻すことにつながる。
There you go. Good.
そうよ。正直今まで考えてもみなかった。人を見かけだけで簡単に判断して、それが相手を本当に苦しめるということ。
Amen, Yuzuka.
人がどう言おうが自分さえ強くあればいい。でもそれでは済まないこともある。
Yeah, but what do you say? Like, I don't honestly know how I could have de-escalated that situation. Like, I was berating Hibiki because I thought he was doing it the wrong way, but it's not like I had an answer for what the right way was, honestly. Is there a right way? Probably not.
そして相手の本心はどこにあったとしても、相手を大きく傷つけてしまうこともある。
Yeah. Like with Lieutenant Hill and Miyono. He and the others didn't insult Miyono simply because they were Americans and she's Japanese. No, they wanted to criticize the Imperial military, and poor Miyono was a vehicle for their opinions. Their hearts were in the right place, but they didn't stop for a second to consider how their words would hurt her.
エレンが言う通り、私は世間知らずだったわ。あらら、冗談から出た言葉をこんなところに持ち込むなんて。ユズカは本当に真面目ね。そして雫も。エレンちゃんは一人じゃないよ。私たちがいるもん。ありがとう。まったく、なにこの青春映画。
この体なりの結束だろ。
Never thought we'd grow closer together because a bunch of Americans were asking for trouble. Bonding usually happens in battle. I mean, it's just like anything else. You take out a beta in the nick of time and save someone's butt from a laser class. That's the sort of stuff that brings pilots together. The sort of stuff that stays with you for your life. But there's a dark side too. Those experiences might bring you in closer to your squad, but they also isolate you from the rest of society. Because no one can understand. That's one of the biggest struggles with vets. And why vets, I don't think, get the proper treatment. I think a lot of it is because you expect people to come back from war, no matter what they did in that war, to be able to put down the rifle, pick up, I don't know, a briefcase or a power tool and just get back to a normal life. And those experiences are not the kind of thing you can put aside. Even if you try to compare it to veterans of other wars, which I frankly don't think you can, because a lot of those veterans went through just as terrible of things, but war has also changed. And the speed and horrific and the out-of-the-blue horrors that can happen are much worse. Like, technology has made it so the warfare is so much more effective. It's even scarier than it might have been, because conventional warfare back in World War II and Korean Wars, like, you understood what kind of dangers you typically would face and knew, like, the kind of, like, you might not see an attack coming per se, but you often knew where they could come from. Nowadays, especially with stuff like drones and like satellites and all that stuff, like, you never really can tell. Sometimes things can just happen and there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for it. And then there's people caught in the crossfire who have literally nothing else they can do to protect themselves. It's just horrible. And neither bad nor good, it's just something that happens, and you don't think bonding like that kind of thing is that like, and I don't think bonding like that is the kind of thing we're looking for these days. This fight is full of people whose life went off the rails at some point, but that only makes it more confident that we'll put back on tracks together. God only knows what the future has in store for us, but I can tell the road we'll travel is bound to be out of the norm, one way or another. And here I thought I was supposed to be Major Jinguji's dog of war, yet she's got us doing things no self-respecting mercenary unit would ever do. Now how's that for irony?
なんだか私が慰められたような格好になっちゃったわね。
Yeah, somehow we all had a little powwow and we're all gonna feel better.
そういうつもりじゃなかったんだけど話に乗っかったのは確かだな。
My bad, but it happens.
でも響の思いがひしひしと伝わってきたわ。
Uh-oh, I know where this is going.
例によって嫌なよ。
あら、今晩私と過ごすのが嫌なわけ？もう照れちゃって。
Uh-oh. Yuzuka, here she comes.
エレン、あのね。なら、ゆずかにしようかな。
Oh, yes! I mean, who would ever accept that?
そうよ。この際、身も心も結束を深めましょう。大丈夫。私に任せておけば痛いことはないわよ。
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what I would do with a proposition like this. I definitely couldn't say yes to it, but I don't even know how I would react to it. I would be like, you're joking, right? I'd be like, oh, you're funny. You're joking, right? Like, right? Oh, dang. So Alan swings that way too? That's kind of hot. I mean, I had no idea. Oh, Yuzuka.
ほら、響だって期待してるみたいだし。
してないです。はい、絶対に。
You protest a little too much.
あら、本当に？
We all know they got the question mark. That's brilliant.
バカなことを言うのはやめたまえ、エレン君。
Hey, upstanding gentlemen can absolutely have threesomes. You know what? Whatever floats the boat, whatever everyone's okay for, as long as everyone's consenting, it's all fine. Just understand, I think the only hesitation would be understand that even if you see it as a fling, it's gonna come with baggage, so be prepared for that kind of stuff. Why am I advising this? It's not like I've ever had this experience. Just my thoughts on the matter. Sheesh, the things she comes out with.
そっか。それじゃあ、雫にしよっと。
What? I'm also pretty sure this is sexual harassment.
だって、やっぱり私に浮気はできないわ。雫。
Oh my gosh! What? They've had this relationship all along? Crap, I'm confused. Should this happen or call the FBI? Why would you call the FBI? It would be something else in Japan, right?
なんだ。
響の目が本気だからやめた。
Oh gosh.
え？
だってもう目が血走っちゃってるんだもの。この程度のことでね。もう10年だから。
Oh my gosh. It's like she just is throwing like cross hooks left and right. You just don't know how to keep your legs.
何言ってんだ。
注意。
Oh no.
違うってば。
No! My heart!
ああ、面白いわ。さあ、冗談はこのぐらいにして。
I don't know even.
何の話だったかしら？
Who? I don't even remember either.
一通り話は終わっていたと思うけど。そうだわ。
Oh, sorry, I clicked early.
もしかして帝国軍に加わったこと
Ooh. Okay.
後悔していたりする？
Well, that's not heavy at all. Okay, we're going to end it here because I think we're going to end up diving into a lot, and I kind of want to stop because it's getting a little late and it's long enough of an episode, I think. I know. Don't stop. Don't hit that dislike button. Not that it matters. I don't even know how I can check dislikes. Like, they talk about how creators can see it. Frankly, they make it difficult. To be honest, like, I have to actually dig in my analytics to see it. They show me all the likes, but it's like they hide the dislikes from me. Again, I don't approve of that. I think dislikes are an important function, but hey, YouTube doesn't ask me. So anyway, don't hit that dislike button. we got to save some good stuff for the time to come, and there's a lot to think about right now. And I think before we jump into the heavy topic of Ellen's feelings here, because I'm sure it's going to be quite a lot, let's go ahead and hit pause here, and we'll just digest what we've experienced up till now and move on next time. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. My goodness, this was an interesting episode. A lot of heavy topics, like really heavy topics. And frankly, there's a lot here I think is these stories are always applicable. Like all good stories are applicable no matter when you read them. But it's hard not to draw these parallels with current events. And so obviously if you're watching this, you know, I've already kind of highlighted some of the events that are going on right now. But it's not bad to think about it in the context. And I think it's very good to remember that just because, oh, I hit a button. What I hit? Oh, I hit that. Okay. Sorry. Just because people have a shared cultural background doesn't mean that you should hang the decisions of some people of some part of some nation over their own heads. In fact, you shouldn't hold that above the people who currently are part of that nation. It's very clear through history, through experience that I've had and others have had, and that you can see right now very easily that the decisions that are made by the movers of the world, the decision makers of nations, are not in line with every single individual of said culture or nation. You shouldn't assume and make those types of platitudes. It's dangerous to do so. It's also dangerous to not take into consideration, of course, when it comes to true like espionage and like, you know, terrorism, counterterrorism, and any other type of thing. Like you have to be careful regardless. But the thing is, you should be careful of everybody. Like just because someone doesn't share a nationality doesn't mean they might not be agents unto those groups. In fact, that's the kind of silly thing, is that the really good agents, the people who you really need to watch out for, are not going to be easy to pick out because of a nationality. So anytime you start harboring those types of feelings of bitterness and anger because of the choices of a few, and you broadcast them to a group that share any type of feature or background or affinity, that's a cruel mistake. And honestly, it's also kind of the problem in politics. A lot of the politics I see and the big rifts that form there are because you take a small sampling of a group and decide to judge the entire group based on the actions of the few. And that's just not fair, it's not right, and it leads to problems, not solutions. So please be careful, be humane. Remember, people are people. I hope if you have the means, we've been reaching out and trying to find ways to help and support people in need right now. I encourage you to do the same, like, because we're humans and humans should look out for each other. But also don't judge. Don't be quick to assign blame or to take your frustrations and put them on others' shoulders. And we've seen evidence of that already too, which is really sad that that's still happening now in the midst of the chaos. It's just human nature. So please just be good people. Try and be better people than your instincts will make you want to be. But yeah, enough about that deep stuff. Thank you to the patrons for believing in the channel and supporting me directly. I hope I've been able to continue to make that investment worthwhile for you. I hope you look forward to more exciting content in the future. I thank you guys all so much for watching. It means the world to me, and the steps you take and the things you do, like leaving likes, comments, and you know, subscribing if you haven't. It makes all the difference in the world for a channel like mine, because every single person counts, and every single time you send me that kind of a message through an action like that helps me know that I'm doing something right. So thank you. And until the next video watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.